over the course of the next half an hour, we'll be updating you with everything that's been happening around the world. And let's start with some national news first. We're putting to rest all speculations and debate. Rahul Gandhi is all set to be elevated as the Congress party president within the next couple of weeks. The party chief Sonia Gandhi has convened a meeting of the Congress Working Committee today to approve the schedule for the elevation of the Congress president. Now, on the agenda of the crucial meeting is the signing off on the schedule for upcoming internal polls to appoint the next Congress president to replace the party's longest-serving incumbent, Sonia Gandhi. Now, a top army official has said that as many as 190 militants have been killed in northern Jammu and Kashmir province this year, out of which 110 were foreigners. Now, Kashmir has always remained a sensitive issue as the restive region has witnessed numerous militant attacks, insurgency and infiltration attempts from across the border in the last 2 decades. The army official has further said that they have also initiated programs to bring back local militants back into the mainstream. The Sri Lankan Navy has apprehended about 8 Indian fishermen for allegedly poaching in its territorial waters. The Sri Lankan Navy has confirmed the arrests in a statement on its official website. The arrests were made during a routine patrolling when the fishermen were out in the sea for fishing near the Kachativu area and Deaf Islands. The 2 fishing trawlers were also captured by the Navy. The pre-trial hearing on fugitive Indian tycoon Vijay Mallya will take place today at the Westminster Court in London. Vijay Mallya is wanted in India on loan defaults to several banks. The Mallya is exempt from appearing for hearings before his 2-week trial for extradition to India begins on the 4th of December. Tibetan spiritual leader the Dalai Lama on Sunday said that India and China have great potential to work together. Bilateral relations between New Delhi and Beijing have been frosty in recent years, and 2 months ago they ended their over 70-day military standoff at the Doklam Plateau, which lies near the borders of the 2 Asian giants and India's ally Bhutan. Thousands of devotees from across the world congregated at India's northern Leh city to take part in the centenary birth celebrations of Buddhist Lama, the 19th Kushok Bakula Rinpoche. Rinpoche, a 20th century statesman and international diplomat, was known for his efforts to revive Buddhism in Mongolia and Russia. The festival started with a prayer offering at the Semongpa Buddhist monastery and a small cultural ceremony at the Leh Palace. The 37th International Trade Fair, which is underway in the Indian national capital, opened for general public on Sunday. The first 4 days of the 14-day event, which kicked off on the 14th of November, were dedicated to business visitors. As many as 3,000 exhibitors and participants from almost 22 countries have put up their pavilions at the annual fair organised by the India Trade Promotion Organisation. The 14-day event is themed on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Startup and Stand Up India project. Well, to some international news now. In Zimbabwe's ruling ZANU-PF party has given Robert Mugabe until noon today to step down as president or face impeachment proceedings. Now, in scenes unthinkable just a week ago, the announcement was met with cheers from the 200 ZANU-PF delegates who were packed in the party's Harare headquarters to seal the fate of Mugabe, whose support has crumbled in the 4 days since the army seized control. Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe, however, has defied expectations that he would resign on Sunday, pledging to preside over a ZANU-PF Congress next month, even though the ruling party has removed him as its leader hours earlier. The Mugabe said in an address on state television that he acknowledged criticism against him from the ZANU-PF party, the military and also the public, but did not comment on the possibility of standing down from the presidentship. Zimbabwe's ruling party fired Robert Mugabe as its leader, replacing him with Emerson Mnangagwa. Now, the deputy that he sacked this month, Mnangagwa, who's a former state security chief, also known as the Crocodile, is now in line to head an interim post-Mugabe unity government that will focus on rebuilding ties with the outside world and also stabilizing an economy which is presently in free fall due to sanctions. The Kenyan police had to fire tear gas to disperse a crowd that was protesting against the overnight murder of as many as 4 people in a slum in the capital Nairobi. Parts of the city have been gripped by tension since Friday, when at least 5 people were killed in violence between the police and the opposition supporters who were accompanying their leader Raila Odinga after a trip abroad. Chileans voted for a successor to President Michel Bachelet on Sunday, with billionaire conservative Sebastián Pinera the favourite to win, though a huge crowd fielded of the leftist challengers are likely to force a December runoff. A light but steady turnout was apparent at the capital's largest polling station, the National Stadium. The opinion polls show that Pinera, who was president between 2010 and 2014, and leads the Chile Vamos bloc, may have a lead in the elections. The Chilean voters cast their ballots overseas for the first time on Sunday, 1 year after President Michel Bachelet enacted a law giving Chileans abroad the right to vote. In Argentina, voters were happy to be able to participate in the historic vote in which billionaire conservative Sebastián Pinera is the favourite to win over a crowded field of leftist challengers. Now, according to Chilean government figures, between 500,000 to 1 million Chileans live abroad who now have the right to vote in the elections. The Argentine Navy submarine that's missing in the South Atlantic is carrying the first female submarine official among its 44-member crew. A storm on Sunday had complicated the search operations for the submarine, as the authorities had tried to verify that the recent satellite calls, seen as a sign that the sailors were alive, came from the vessel. More than a dozen boats and aircraft from Argentina, the United States, Britain and Chile have joined the effort to search the submarine. The European Union's foreign policy chief Federica Mogherini has met with Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after a visit to the Rohingya refugee camps in the south of the country. Mogherini, a US congressional delegation and also the foreign minister, along with the foreign ministers of Sweden, Germany and Japan, visited the camps in Cox's Bazar to raise awareness of the plight of more than 600,000 Rohingyas who had to flee from Myanmar due to ethnic persecution. China and Myanmar have vowed to further promote their bilateral relationship and deepen their pragmatic cooperation. The pledge came during talks that were held between Myanmar's State Councillor and Foreign Minister Aung San Suu Kyi and the visiting Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Wang Yi has said that China regards Myanmar as an important partner in the joint development of China's proposed One Belt and Road initiative, noting that China and Myanmar enjoy obvious complementarity in terms of economic benefits which would accrue between the relationship between China and Myanmar. Israeli police officers on Sunday have questioned Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for the 6th time in a corruption scandal. The Israeli media, without citing sources, has widely reported that he was being questioned again and has said that the interview session would lasted for several hours. Now, no charges have been brought against Netanyahu, who has been in power since 2009 and has denied any wrongdoings or taking bribe for official favours. Saudi Arabia and other Arab foreign ministers have criticized Iran and its Lebanese Shiite ally Hezbollah at an emergency meeting in Cairo, warning that they will not stand by in the face of Iranian interference in Arabian affairs. Now, the Arab League Secretary General has said that the Arab nations will raise the matter with the international organizations, including the United Nations Security Council. Turkey, Russia and Iran held talks on the Syrian conflict in southern Turkish city of Anatolia. This ahead of the next week's summit between the leaders of the three countries. Earlier this week, a spokesman for Kremlin had said that Syrian talks with Syria will be held between the countries that are the guarantors of the Syrian peace process. The Syrian army and its allies have released civilians from Al-Bukamal, the Islamic State's last significant town in Syria along the Iraqi border. The footage released shows lines of evacuated civilians walking near Al-Bukamal and receiving food from soldiers, as well as the ongoing clashes between the Syrian army and the allied forces and the Islamic State militants. The Syrian army and its allies have taken complete control over Al-Bukamal, Islamic State's last significant town in Syria. The Lebanese Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri is confirmed to return to Lebanon for Independence Day celebrations on the 22nd of November and officially will resign from his position at Beirut. Now, according to local reports which have appeared in Lebanon, Saad al-Hariri is likely to travel to Egypt and Kuwait before returning to Beirut, the capital of Lebanon, where he is expected to visit the Lebanese presidential palace to formally tender his resignation and step aside. The Lebanese political analysts have said that after Hariri's resignation, the country needs to form a new government and that he will play an important role in the process of forming the transitional government. Pope Francis has made a passionate appeal for peace in Lebanon and the Middle East during his Angelus prayer at the Vatican. Regional tensions have risen in the Middle East over the Lebanese Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri's surprise resignation in a televised address while he was believed to be held in Riyadh. Pope Francis also welcomed the poor, the homeless and the unemployed as guests of honor for a gourmet meal in the Vatican on Sunday. The Pope has posed for pictures and selfies with his guests before sharing the table with them at the Vatican Audience Hall. The menu for the poor was selected by Sergio Decen, the same chef who prepares meals for the visiting dignitaries at Vatican conferences. A top Canadian trade union leader has accused the United States of bullying tactics and wanting NAFTA to fail, amidst reports from Mexico City that the three countries have not made much progress on tough U.S. demands that could sink the 1994 trade pact. The officials from the United States, Canada and Mexico are meeting in the Mexican city for the fifth of the 7 planned rounds of meetings to update the North American Free Trade Agreement from which U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to withdraw. Now, 2 months on after Mexico's bustling city was rattled by a deadly earthquake that claimed hundreds of lives, survivors marched on the streets of Mexico City on Sunday to demand aid as they struggled to get back onto their feet. With life in capital back to normal, residents who have been evacuated from their homes have urged the public not to forget them. The Mexican government has set aside funds in its disaster management fund for quake relief, and Mexican mogul Carlos Slim has also donated about $100 million to help the country recover from the quake. But the victims say that they are yet to receive any form of financial assistance from the government. Love was in the air on the US-Mexican border when an American groom and his Mexican bride exchanged their vows after a fence separating Tijuana and San Diego opened briefly on Saturday. According to the groom, the US citizen could not enter into Tijuana for reasons that he did not explain, and his Mexican wife does not have a visa to visit the United States of America. The opening between San Diego and Tijuana has been dubbed the Gate of Hope by family members and loved ones who are separated by this border fence at the US-Mexican border. The world's longest aircraft, the Airlander 10, has collapsed to the ground at Cardington Airfield in Bedfordshire in the UK after it broke free from its mooring mast, causing it to deflate. The manufacturer, Hybrid Air Vehicles, has said in a statement that the aircraft has a safety system which is triggered automatically if the aircraft breaks free of its mast and is designed to rip open the hull and deflate the aircraft. Egypt has put out on display in Cairo previously unseen artifacts from the tomb of the pharaoh Tutankhamun in a bid to boost the country's tourism. The artifacts, which are mostly gold, are among the numerous exhibits in the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square, which were for the first time shown to the public. Tibet is checking houses for safety in the Maiba village, a densely populated area which is close to downtown Ingechi, after the 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck the region. The result shows that cracks have been found in 3 houses and slight damage was also found in others. Local authorities have conducted house-to-house checks and have put up tents for villages as temporary shelters. They also have carried out psychological counselling to drive away fears of local residents. Greek rescuers and firefighters have recovered the body of a victim of heavy floods that hit the Greek town of Mandra, bringing the death toll in the region to 20. As rain returned in Mandra, muddy water flooded the streets and residents found shelter on rooftops and balconies in fear of another deadly flood. The residents have said that Mandra suffers from a shortage of water, making it difficult to clean up after the flood, but also raising concerns about hygiene in the region. The continuous rainstorm brought by Typhoon Kirogi, the 14th so far this year, has had a great impact on life and production of the people in central South Vietnam. The Flood Prevention Department of Vietnam has issued warnings against flooding. A cold wave has swept across multiple parts of China in recent days, bringing sharp drops in temperatures and even snow to some areas. The snow-coated mountains and trees are attracting many visitors to the area. According to the local meteorological department, the cold wave will affect the region until Wednesday, with some high-altitude areas seeing even more snow. A spectacular water drum dance has attracted a large number of tourists in southwest China's Guizhou province. More than 10,000 people from Gedong town, birthplace of the dance, and other neighboring towns participated in the performance at a square in Jianghe County, which is part of the cultural festival. All performers were dressed in the traditional costumes of the Miao ethnic group, dancing to the drum beat around a giant wooden drum in the center of the square. An ambitious urban renewal project planned for Colombia's capital city got off to an explosive start with the implosion of the former Ministry of Transportation building. The government building in central Bogota was reduced to rubble to make way for a project that will see a new national administrative center with futuristic buildings under a broader plan for urban renewal in the city. The construction project will include about 2,600 housing units, as well as space for businesses, cultural events and a hospital. Well, to some entertainment news now, and keeping in mind the public's sensitivity, the Turkish capital of Ankara has banned the public showings of films and exhibitions portraying or relating to the LGBT issues. Now, this ban comes after the annual LGBT pride marches have been banned for 3 years in Turkey. Mel Tillis, a country music Hall of Fame singer and songwriter who recorded more than 60 albums and penned a string of hits, for Kenny Rogers, George Strait and other major artists has died at the age of 85. The cellist was honoured by former US President Barack Obama with the National Medal of Arts in 2011 for his contributions to music.